Morning everyone. I wanted to do a video about the biblical definition of love. And I'm doing this in response to a comment that I got on a Facebook feed. A couple of comments actually. Let's have a look. Surely you can understand that there's more than one belief system. The Bible is all about interpretation, and the main attributes of Jesus are themes around respect, collaboration, humility, kindness, and healing. Your views seem to be the antithesis of this. Another comment was, saying homosexuality is a sin is teaching hate. There are thousands of gay and trans people living in fear of murder that are committed around the world in the name of religion. I really thought the UK was changing, but clearly not. Intolerance is alive and well. And another comment was, be a good Christian and keep it to yourself. So essentially, the takeaway I got from those messages was what I was doing. I was commenting on a post, and the heading of the post, by the way, as a Christian you'll see why I was commenting, was the post said, Jesus is always there, being as useless as FUCK. So I made a comment. A lot of my Facebook friends are atheists. Some are quite ardent atheists and quite vocal about their atheism. And that's your God-given right. You have a God-given freedom of will. But I made comments, and these are the kinds of comments I got back. So what that says to me is people don't understand what the biblical definition of love is. We have a notion of what love is, and I think our culture has kind of reduced love down to this kind of mushy, being nice to everyone, and a flutter in the heart, and heart signs, and just being kind and good to everyone all the time. And yes, that is an element of love, but the biblical definition goes a lot deeper than that. So you can find this in 1 Corinthians 13, chapter 13, verses 4 to 7. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. So I want to pick out the attributes of what love is, and also what love is not. That's essentially what we just got. So love is patient and kind. It protects. Love trusts, it hopes, and perseveres. What love is not? It is not envy. And just to define that a bit more, is a feeling. Envy is a feeling of discontent or resentfulness, longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. It doesn't boast. It is not proud. So pride is to have or showing a high or excessively high opinion of oneself or one's importance. It does not dishonor others. It doesn't mutter about others. It doesn't seek to It doesn't seek to dishonor others, to say bad things about others. Love is not about the self. So if I'm being loving, it's not to elevate myself, it's to elevate others. And specifically, biblical love is to elevate Jesus Christ. It is not easily angered. Now, notice it's not that it's never angered, but it's not easily angered. So one of the other attributes of love is patience. So we can see from the Bible that God, who is the perfect representation of God, of love, he does get angered. Jesus went into the temple and overturned the tables of the money changers. He threw them all out. That's what upset them so much. That's why he ended up being crucified, or one of the reasons. So Jesus, a misconception is somehow Jesus didn't ever challenge anything, and was just a nice guy. Well, no, Jesus went into the temple and threw all the tables over. He was angry. He was seriously angry. But God had been patient, with the Israelites. It was 400 years between the end of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament. That's patience. That's a long time. Love keeps no record of wrongs. So when we submit our lives to God, our sins are all forgiven in that moment. When we submit to Jesus, it is all forgotten. So in other words, no record of wrongs. That is love. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. So the reason no one can shut me up as a Christian, so that going to the comment, be a good Christian and keep it to yourself. Well, that's not the biblical story. That's not the biblical message. Christians, a good Christian, doesn't keep it to themselves. A good Christian goes out and shares the gospel of truth. That's what I am commissioned to do. It's called the Great Commission. That's a complete misinterpretation of the Bible. Now, do all Christians do that? No, they don't. A lot of Christians do keep it to themselves. They don't know how to share the gospel. There will be Christians watching this now who I've been a Christian for 3 years. There will be Christians watching this who've been Christian their entire life, or well, not their entire life, but maybe from a young age. They submitted to God, and they may never have even done a single video like this. They may have, they may not, but there will be some who haven't even done a single video like this. They have kept their Christianity to themselves, and that's because it's difficult sharing the gospel. People are going to possibly make comments on this feed, how stupid I am, how ridiculous it is to believe in a God. I've been indoctrinated, how I've been brainwashed in some way. And the reason I do this in a video is I want you to look into my eyes, and this isn't brainwashing. I came to a logical decision to be a Christian. And that's a different video, but you can see other videos. If you go to Choose Life Southampton, you'll see videos where I explain why I became a Christian on YouTube. So that's why a lot of Christians don't share it. They just don't want the hassle that goes with sharing the gospel. And the ultimate example, of course, is the kind of abuse that you come up against is Jesus Christ. He was crucified and murdered because he shared the truth, because he shared God's truth. And I'm not going to be crucified or murdered for doing this, but I know from doing it that you do get comments and negativity, and some people just don't want that, and who can blame them? And love protects, trusts, hopes, and always perseveres. Now, protects, trusts, hopes, and perseveres. So I believe in the gospel. I believe that there is a judgment day coming. I believe in heaven and hell. So given that I have those beliefs, if you don't know Jesus Christ, if you haven't submitted your life to Jesus Christ, and by the way, knowing Jesus Christ is not enough. You have to submit your life to Jesus Christ. You have to make him Lord of your life. If you haven't done that, then in my belief system, you're going to hell. You're going to be separated from all that is good in the world. You're going to be separated from the source of life. So by definition, you are heading towards death, to damnation. Now, given that I believe that, whether you believe that or not, just go on a thought exercise with me, okay? But given that I believe that, then an analogy is there's a bus, and I can see that bus heading towards the edge of a cliff, and there are people on that bus, and I get on that bus and I go up the aisle and I say, guys, the bus is heading towards a cliff, we got to get off, the brakes are broken, we're gonna have to jump out. It's not going particularly fast, this bus. We can jump out, it's not going to kill us, but we need to get off this bus. And someone's got their headphones on, another person's reading a book, they're enjoying life, they're having a good time, they're in conversation with their partner, and I'm on that bus saying, no guys, come on, you need to listen to me, we need to get off this bus, it's heading towards a cliff. And people are going to get annoyed with me because they're going to be, hey mate, I'm having a conversation with my girlfriend here, just leave me alone. Or I'm looking at a film video here, just get out of my face, I'm watching a video, I'm into it. And I keep going up and down the aisle of that bus, and I'm getting more and more frantic. I'm getting off that bus. I know the cliff is coming. I know when I need to get off that bus. But right now I'm on that bus, and I can do something to get other people off that bus. And I'm going to get more and more frantic the closer and closer we get to the edge of that cliff. Now, no one else can see the edge of this cliff because they're too busy watching their YouTube channel or in conversation with their friend. They just haven't seen the cliff coming, but I have. I know that cliff is coming. Now, would it be loving for me, knowing that the cliff is coming, to go up and down the aisle, sort of say, guys, there's a cliff coming, does anyone fancy coming with me? Oh no, that's all right, you carry the conversation. No, oh, you're watching a great film on YouTube, you carry on with that. Oh, you're into Netflix box, you carry on. Well, I'm going to get off because the cliff's coming, but you carry on. And then I kind of step off the coach, and then I watch the coach drive off the edge of the cliff with everybody on board. Would that be a loving thing for me to do? Obviously not. So I'm the guy that's going up and down the aisle, and I'm shaking you on the shoulder, and I'm saying, hey, we got to get off this bus, it's going to go towards a cliff, we haven't got much time. Now you might be upset about that, you might get annoyed by that. Lee, an old friend of mine, Lee, I hope you see this, Lee, we go back years. I knew Lee when we were kids. We went to primary school together, we went to school together. I know his dad, my parents know his dad sadly passed away recently. Lee, I am doing this out of love. Now, whether you believe me or not, can you please at least recognize that I believe it, and therefore out of love for you, I am compelled to share this message. And actually, if I didn't love you, I would simply shut up and be quiet. Now, I want to be able to share this message in a loving way. I want this to be compassionate. I don't want to misrepresent Jesus. I'm going to do that because I'm imperfect. But I want to, as far as I can, as far as I'm physically able to represent Jesus as best I can and to share the gospel of good news with you. And frankly, nothing's going to shut me up until the day I die. Effectively, that bus falling off the edge of the cliff is death. Now, I am assured when that day comes for me, I know where I'm going. I'm going to be with Jesus. I know that in the core of my being. I'm filled with the Spirit of Jesus Christ, and there are good reasons for me to believe that. Go to my YouTube channel and I give you all those reasons. Choose Life Southampton. And I want as many of the people that I know to also to have that assurance. And that's why I am doing this. I'm doing this out of love. And hopefully, I hope that means you understand what I'm doing. Andrew said, saying homosexuality is a sin is teaching hate. Well, the Bible teaches that sexual immorality is a reason we go to hell. Now, we are all guilty of sin. I am, you are, everybody is guilty of sin. When we become Christian, we are filled with the Spirit of God. We are forgiven our sins, and we are given power to overcome Satan, to overcome sin. So I'm not a gay man, but I am a heterosexual man. The Bible tells me that adultery is a sin punishable by death. Moses' law, under the Mosaic law, you could be stoned to death for adultery. And homosexuality is just another form of sexual sin. I used to look at pornography before I became a Christian. In fact, even immediately after I became a Christian, I was still looking at it. It took time for me to stop looking at it. I don't look at it anymore. Now, I can, if I see a scantily clad woman, I'm still, I can still get lustful thoughts, but I now train myself not to go down that route. I choose not to follow those lustful desires. And homosexuality, adultery, it's all in that same bucket. Paedophilia is in that same bucket. Our culture, we do not accept paedophilia. Pornography would be frowned upon, although it's prolific everywhere. But homosexuality is kind of raised up and glorified in our culture, and to say something against that is considered to be hate speech. But just to define what hate speech is if I was to say, and to be clear, I am not saying this, I absolutely am not saying this, but if I was to say all gays should be burnt to the stake, that's hate speech. But I'm not saying that. Okay, don't cut and paste that bit. Okay, I'm not saying that. In fact, as a Christian, my obligation is to live by love and self-sacrifice. Okay, so if I lived in Nazi Germany, homosexuals were sent to the concentration camps, as well as Jews and gypsies. As a Christian, my obligation within the Nazi, Second World War Germany, would be to protect and hide vulnerable people. So I would be under an obligation to shelter a gay couple, and I would do that despite the risk to me. I would do that, not because I'm condoning their lifestyle, but because I am under an obligation to love people and protect people. And when they were in my life, under my roof, whilst I was protecting their life from the evil of Nazism, I would share the gospel with them. And that is what the gospel says. Anyway, I hope that clarifies things. I am being a good Christian by sharing this. Be a good Christian and keep it to yourself. I find it's quite a kind of a, obviously Lee doesn't, or the individual that said this doesn't follow that particular teaching as an atheist. He obviously, part of his atheistic thinking clearly isn't to be a good atheist, you keep it to yourself. Otherwise the post this was posted on, where it says Jesus is always there, being as useless as FUCK, that kind of a post is not keeping it to yourself. So in just the same way as an atheist shouldn't keep it to themselves, I as a Christian, I shouldn't keep the gospel to myself. And in fact, I would say as a Christian, I am under far greater obligation to share the gospel of truth than an atheist is, or another person is, because Jesus himself, God himself, commands me to do it. Anyway, I hope that helps. If you have a comment, make it below. I don't reply to negative, not negative, but I don't, any insulting or abusive ones I won't respond to. But if you make a comment that's reasoned and makes a reasonable argument, then yes, of course I'll respond to that, either in video form or some other form. Well, God bless you. God keep you safe during this COVID-19 outbreak.